So the Maimas, Daf Pevah with Beis again. The Maimas talks about, the Gemara says, Lo ilam al yam adod makom sakona sheme inoisin lenes. Inoisin lenes, nakla mischiyos. That that the person should stay away from makom sakona because he shouldn't expect a nes. So he says to understand this concept better, lo'ovin, so he starts lo'ovin in anisim. You have to understand the deeper meaning of what a nes is. What is really a nes? Ishlag the mashakos ukel de savai. Famous pasuk in Shir Schana that Kel Deis Havaya, Sidus always says that Kel Deis means there's base days. The two views, the two ways we perceive reality. It's called 2 days. Das Elin, das Tachten, the view from above and the view from below. Das Elin, the view from above from the Abish's perspective. Shalamayla Yesh Lamat Ein. That Elamaylo in the Likus, this is the real being. Elamat, everything all else is Ein, it's nothingness. Vaina the Insof Yesh Amiti, the Insof, the Abish Yesh Amiti, Chola Giluim, Chola Yisavas, Chola Nivoim, all the revelations of the Likus and all creation. I don't know what the Chola Yisavas, Chola Nivoim. It's a diuk, maybe, I'm not sure. Ein ve'efes, all of them are nothing. The Kula Kamei Kolach Shevamash. They're all insignificant. Moshe Kosom is a pasuk in Daniel called Dayoi Koloch Shiva. All citizens, all the inhabitants of the earth are considered nothing. I mean, I think in pasuk it says Kolo, but hey, but it means they're nothing. So that's the view from above. That's Elia. Das Tachtenu Shabriya Yesh Ma'ai. The Bria creation is something from nothing. Shabriya Pchinas Yesh. Bria is yesh. It's a being, and that was created from nothingness, which means it was created from a condition where there was nothing there, and then it was created. So that is the two views of Dasan and Dastach. But he's explaining more. What does it mean that was yesh ma'ayin? Yesh is tashlis of all. Some things can be made in a way of ilavol, cause and effect, which means when ilavol, when the ilah creates the all, the cause creates to an effect, the be'erzal, they're on the same level, they're in the same dimension, so to speak. All called chilavayilose, the effect is first contained within its effect, cause. So when we say that the all it's created from the Elo, it's not yesh me'ayin, it's not something new that didn't exist before. It existed in a state of concealment, behelam, and now it's mizgal. He goes into a very long arichas, that's why I went back here, because the whole next page is developing this concept of Ilav Olu. Just to explain the context of yesh me'ayin, Ilav Olu, so there's a very long discussion what Ilav Olu means. It goes me in. So he starts discussing what does Ilav Olu mean. This is the standard marshal chassidus. Ilav Olu is seichel midas, mind, the intellect, and the emotions. Says chassidus that midas kedem shnizgalu including by seichel behelem and nizgalu melem elagil. The way emotions operate, they're contained within the intellect, contained within the perception of the intellect, and only then they're misgala, they're revealed from a state of concealment to a state of revelation. Nothing new happened. Like saying something in the room, you couldn't see it, was dark. You turned off the light, you see it. Nothing new happened. It's the same thing, just misgal. But he goes into this concept itself of the way Seichel Midas is Ilav Olu. He goes into quite a long discussion. Chazal say that there's 50 gates of understanding to create it. Why is 50? Because Bina Yema Bonim, Bina understanding this is the mother of all the children which Bonim are Midas. Bonim are called Midas, and Bina is called the mother, like it says in Tani Perigimo. The way Bina gives birth, creates, the way the intellect creates the emotion, the way the bina gives birth to the midas is through the shorim, to the gates. So that's why there is nun chamishim shorim, because shorim, the 49 means connected zayin midas. They represent the 7 midas. Chomid call them zayin. Each midah itself is made up of 7 itself. It contains 7. That's what we know. You'll soon find that in Sfira Seimer. We say in Sfira Seimer, Chesed Shebechesed, etc. So that is the Indian of Zayin Memtes. So each of these midas of Zayin Pam Zayin has its own gate. The Hainu, what is the gate? The Bina has a shah. The Bina, the intellect, has a gate to which the midah is created. So what is the Seichel? What is the gate? Hainu Atoyas HaSeichel LaHoylid HaSamida. That is the leaning. The seichel leans to a certain direction to create the emotion. I call me the poet. Each individual feeling and emotion has an intellectual formula and not more than a formula. Intellectual view that enables this midah, this feeling. For example, the fact that he is interested in something, the fact he shows interest in something is really an expression of the fact that in his mind, his mind is telling him that this is good for him. So it means the mind makes the intellectual analysis, comes to the conclusion that this particular object or person is beneficial to him, and that creates the feeling towards the person. If he wouldn't understand, if his mind wouldn't come to that conclusion, he would never reach the interest. So that leaning of the seichel, that directs him in that way, he should want should have interest in this. He should should have a feeling towards it. That intellectual observation. This is the shah. This is the gate from bina to the gate that takes him from the intellectual into the emotional. Similar to a regular gate. What is a gate? A gate is a place to which we leave. You leave the palace, or you leave the yard to go through the gate to the outside. This is why it's called Chamishim Shorim, the 50 gates, because the gate is the hatoya, the leaning of the seichel that takes him towards the midah. So this shorim, this part of the seichel, which is the gate to which the person goes from the state of intellect into the state of emotion, they are really midas shebeseichel. It means within the seichel itself, there's already a state where the person intellectually has a feeling within the intellect. Midas shebeseichel. This is really the lowest state, the lowest level within the intellect itself. Intellectual analysis itself is way above the whole concept of being emotional, being emotionally involved. When we see when a person is totally preoccupied and invested in trying to understand and analyze the idea, the depth of an idea, to understand the idea well, so it's impossible. He's above any emotional involvement. He's evaluating in objective ways. He's not part of it. He's just trying to evaluate, objectively evaluate the concept. Mele, his entire is above midas, above any emotional connection. וגם בפלפול הסבויס, אי אפשר לדעת עדיין המידה שם is. Even when he argues, he basically says that he describes two stages. There's the pure analysis, and then there's argument. When there's arguments, you can think that there's argument back and forth, there's a little emotion involved. Still, at that point, you still don't know what is going to be the emotional result of this. Only when the pure intellectual analysis is contained and hidden. Only then do we feel the leaning in the seichel, what emotion will be created from it. Whether the seichel will result in kindness or in judgment. That's only in the lower level of the seichel. In the pure intellectual state analysis, it's above that level. So the hatoya, that is this midas shebeseichel. V'chein, another point, so we learned that another mimer also interesting. He spoke the two ways we describe midas shebeseichel. Usually, the midas shebeseichel means when you try to analyze if this thing is good for you. So within the analysis, you already in intellectual state, you feel that the seichel tells you that this is good or not good. So within the seichel, you already have a inkling of a feeling of either being drawn to it or being the opposite, like chesed and gevurah. That's good. That is the most standard explanation of seichel, midas of seichel. But in this moment, you had another moment. There's also the atoyas seichel. He speaks about a judge who makes a decision whether the person is guilty or innocent. So the way he describes it, that the guilt and innocence are really within the realm of midas. It means basically, is the judge being nice to the defendant or not? It means he's being kind or judgmental. So that's already midas. But within the seichel state, when the judge analyzes the facts and in the svaras, whether he should find him guilty or innocent, in that state, it's only atoyas seichel. These are the two examples he brings here. Midas shebeseichel, the hatoyas seichel, chesed and din, which is like in the judge, or by when every individual has to decide for himself whether this is good or not good for him. So in the seichel shebedover, that's a seichel shebemidas. He says, then he goes back to the mashal of hatoyas seichel, because we want to talk about how midas is called in seichel. So he says, in the hatoya guf, in the leaning of the intellect guf, there are two stages. The earlier stage is that his mind, his intellect, is leaning towards a certain decision, but he's still not excited about it. That brings the dogma from the judge. When the judge issues a verdict of innocent or guilty, it doesn't cause an emotion. We have page Zayin, the top of page Zayin. He says, when the judge finds the defendant innocent, it's not like in his mind, obviously, in his judgment, in his ruling that he issues. So there's no emotion. The fact that he finds him innocent, there's no emotion of love there. Similarly, if he finds him guilty, there's no feeling of hatred. But then there's a low stage. In other words, he breaks it down into two stages. There's the pure. It's in midas shebeseichel gufa. He says two stages. There's the pure, this midas shebeseichel, when he makes a decision, this person is innocent. Hidden within it is a feeling of kindness, love and kind. I'm mixing love and kindness here with this, like before we spoke. So there's a certain emotion of kindness, but it's still very abstract. It's just a pure intellectual decision that this person is innocent. Then there's the next stage. He says, then as the, I don't know, it's like a certain interesting psychological analysis of the judge. It's at stage one, he just makes a decision that he's innocent, say, and then stage two, he actually has a feeling of maybe even call it love. His heart is involved. We're talking about the Tinder Seichel Gufa. Tinder Seichel, there's a certain he feels a certain type of what I don't know what the word will be, certain type of kindness towards the innocent. So maybe as there's some type, but all within his mind. But Seichel Gufa is that is the Mokel Midas Shebelev. So basically, what we just described is that in Midas Shebelev Gufa, in Midas Shebeseichel Gufa, there are two stages. It's two stages. One is more abstract and one is more involved. And he says, "V'zeu shenema baseball misor shar v'sheich." That answers an interesting question we always say when we say the pasuk in Kapitel David Mizmor, it says twice Shorim Shechem. So according to what we just described, that the two types of Seichel Shebemidas, first described as Chamishim Sharabino, that's Midas Shebeseichel. The two types of Midas Shebeseichel. So two types of Shorim. So it says that's Merumas in the fact that in Pasuk says twice Shorim Shechem. Shechem is Tarin Elohim, Tarin Tatoin. These are two gates, the higher gate and the lower gate. Derech klar sagt das Mido Malchus what has been a goof based show. It gives us a lot of breakdowns how to describe it. These two stages in the way mid seichel is a marker of midas. Again, let's keep in mind this whole discussion we just got into it because we wanted to show that midas and seichel are ill all. But for some reason he elaborates very much more than the standard way. We learned a lot of Mamorim about the Seichel and Midas thing. He's going into it very very intricate detail. He says the two stages in the Midas Seichel Guf for the two stages. There's the higher Shar Tarin Elohim, which is in the marshal of the judge, where he just issues the decision in his mind that this person is innocent. Sharin Tato in the lower level is that he actually develops a certain feeling also within his mind. So that's the Madregas and Seichel Shemit. Now he said the Bederach Klal Midas Malchus and Bino Malchus, but in Bino Gufa the two Madregas, two types of Shor. Then he goes into to give it maybe a better understanding, also to make it more applicable to our own experience. So these two levels really we can talk about them also in Avodas Hashem. Avodah Madriga Aleph. There it goes back to Mamash to Avodah. Avodah means in the language of Chassidus. Avodah means Avodah Sat Tefillah. The person's Avodah Sat Tefillah, like Tanya described, Avodah Sat Tefillah is the time and the person in his inner struggle, the way he wants the nefesh the should overpower nefesh ba'amis. So what happens in Avodah? So that's done to his beinenus, as we know. So he says like this: Madrega alav zamashenirgash etzla tov delikus mispailos. You know, the avodah is through his beinenus. What is this beinenus exactly? That a person contemplates Gdulas Hashem. We say Psukkah de Zimra, the whole Psukkah. What we most of davening is l'oides, l'shabeach, l'naloch, l'shabeach, to think about the greatness of the Eibush. It's not just thinking about it; it's contemplating it, and like Tanya explained, the purpose of it is it should affect the emotion, it should make it develop in the emotion of avavir. But now we're talking about the stage before we reach the actual avavir. We're talking about midas taklos b'seichel. So he explains what is now avoided. These two madregas and midas taklos b'seichel. Madrega Aleph, means that first he has, after there's the contemplation, person in Avodas Hashem, he contemplates the greatness of the Eibishter, and all these bonus and the Chassidus talks about him, Amalekam, his third kalam, in Rav Masech Hashem, etc. So he says that this the first madrege, that's midas shebesech, and the higher madrege shenirgash etzlei am toiv der likus mispirals. Within it, before he actually experienced the emotional feeling, within his intellectual contemplation, he feels the goodness, kindness of Alikus and mispars, and that creates an excitement, intellectual excitement. Now, in the parentheses, he shows us. He makes even another break, another split. In other words, he wants to show in this. There's this in this bonus gufa. There's a level before there's a hergesh. There is the intellectual grasp of the concept, and then there's the hergesh. So he describes it in the parentheses. The ba'atz was a moichin who. The way it is, the moichin itself, this, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a before the emotion, before the midah shebeseichel, the pure intellectual perception of godliness, that creates also a high level of connection. To the intellectual contemplation and observation and analysis, even analysis maybe too strong, it's modern analysis, it's a certain vision. There's so he feel again. He uses the word nirgash also here, but we're talking about the intellectual type of feeling. In other words, if he feels in his mind the greatness and the richness, maybe the proper word, the richness of godliness, and makes him cleave automatically. That's in the atmosphere. B'midah is a low level. In Seichel Gufa, he splits. There's another the Seichel Gufa that's nidbak memela. In other words, is a certain way of recognizes godliness, something so great that he's just drawn to it. It's a certain way that he's drawn to it without even without any feeling, I guess. B'midas, because he wants to separate it. In other words, if I understand it correctly, the first way is not there. He's not there at all. He's lost because he's totally concentrating on the greatness of the Eibishter. V'mele is connected to it. In the second stage that describes in this parentheses, is talking about the lower level. Means he feels that it's good for him. He's already a party here. He feels the goodness, the kindness of the Eliki. So that's called seichel midas shebeseichel, but it's the higher level of midas shebeseichel. Frankly, this type of okay, let's finish. This type of experiences, they're. I think that even if somebody ever experienced it, it's also hard to put in words. But for us, it's just an interesting way of describing something that's out there. But look at this. He goes back to. He just said in Chatzigel Shnegesh Le'atoy, but he just takes it back. In the Ergesh HaToiv, it's inside Etzem Likus. It's the goodness of a Likus, it's at Etzem Likus. The male, it's not really the highest level. Madrega base. Again, so maybe I didn't read it right, because here it says Madrega base, so Ergesh HaToiv Shekivas Lakim Loitoy. All right, so including the parentheses, he described the 3 stages of connecting to the likus, all within the seichel. There's the pure seichel connection, which the way he describes it, somebody sees in his mind's eye, he sees something which is so overwhelmingly beautiful, let's say, or grand, he just is lost. He's totally he's lost in it. That is intellectual. Stage B, the way he describes it here, is that nigash is like toiv. In other words, he feels that it's something good. And that's stage 2. Stage 3 is nigash toiv loy, that the goodness makes him feel good. They're very subtle differences. That's the truth. Accept it as is. Okay, so we described, again, like I mentioned a few times, because all this is almost like a parenthesis within a parenthesis. All this is just to elaborate on the explanation why seichel midas are ilah v'ol. So in this part of the Maimer, he wants to teach us how seichel as midas within it. So he gave us one explanation as an avodah. In avodas Hashem, I guess people are shaykh to it, so they can reach this type of feelings. Olamaila, then he brings a dogma also from a likus, from what it says in Kabbalah about the spheres lamaila. Of course, we're about the Shari Perik Hey. In Pardes, reminding you know what, this particular Pardes, we had it. I think we learned it either in Samachay or Nine Ches. It says like this: Kol sphere nifran b'shisha madrigas. In Pardes, he says that each sphere itself has 6 levels. If I remember correctly, we looked up the Pardes when we learned it last time. Where was it? I think it was the Maimer in Ein Ches, or maybe Ein Aleph. Maybe Ein Aleph. Maimer Kisisa. If I remember, the Maimer Kisisa. I have to look it up. So he says over there, Shekol sphere nifran b'shisha madrigas. Each sphere is examined, which basically means it can be observed for 6 stages. V'madriga chamishis he, and he says there what is the 5th. He skips the first 4. He talks about the 5th and the 6th. 5th is שהספירה התחתונה נמצא מציאות מסגל בעצמות. Basically, it means that each sphere has the sphere below it contained within it. The sphere below it, let's say sphere of chesed. It's hard to talk about a sphere of chesed. It's easier for us to talk about it in seichel versus midas, but I guess it's it's like that in all the spheres. So he says, let's say the sphere of chesed. I don't know how to describe the sphere of chesed. Each sphere is broken into 6. The lower 2 are the way the sphere below it is contained in the sphere above. And that group itself has 2 levels. So what are the 2? Number 1, שהספירה התחתונה נמצא מציאות מסגל בעצמות. השש משנמצא מציאות מסגל חוץ לעצמות. einem קיימה של הספירה התחתונה. These are very abstract words which describe the way the lower sphere is contained within the sphere above. So one is the בעצם מסגל בעצמות, and one is מסגל חוץ לעצמות. ובאיזה מדרגה האלה אין באיזה מדרגה השני של הספירה התחתונה. אין שום. That's all he quotes from the Pardes. So he uses this Pardes to show us. I don't really understand. I don't really understand so well these intricate splits, but what he's being the whole concept here is just to show how the lowest level of the Elah, the cause, the 2 lowest madrigas are really the beginning of the Ol. So all this proves the point he's making here, that in the word of Elah v'Olu, it's not like Yesh Ma'ayin. That Elah v'Olu, the Ol is contained in the Elah. So that's all we learned from this entire discussion. The be'ila va'ol, the seichel midas, yeshnam amidas tchila klonim b'seichel ve'elam isganim elam alagim. So interesting what he bought the Pardes, because the Pardes doesn't even talk about seichel midas, talks about all the spheres. But the idea that this entire discussion, we learned from it how in the world of ila va'ol, the olol is contained within the ila. But he brings another dogma. So there's another thing that we can relate. Maybe it's the most relatable in our experience, which is speech and thought. That when the person when he speaks, first he thinks what he's going to say. So whatever he said was first contained within his thought. Within his thought, that he thought what he's going to say and how he's going to say it. He adds another twist, which adds another way of showing the connection of the ilul and the olul. That even while a person speaks, he's thinking how he's saying it. So that shows that the ilul and the olul are very interconnected. They're in the same dimension, so to speak. But in Yeshma'ayin, Masha'enken, the concept of Yeshma'ayin is the opposite. Shema'ayin nisavet dova p'nis ishtat ischachas masha'el koydem. Yeshma'ayin means something out of nothing, something that didn't exist. It's not that before the Yesh was created, he was contained within the Ayin. But it's totally two different things. They're totally unrelated. And there's an expression in the philosophers, they use the expression, the Yesh Ma'ayno Dova Miloi Dova. Something out of nothing. A being out of non-being. The Miloi Dova Nase Dova. And he said, so the expression is medayik in the Lashon Miloi Dova. Arei, Echa Shah Dova Loi Kol Ba Loi Dova. Dim Loi Kein Eichel Loi Dova. Okay, so that's an interesting deal, because it says dava miloi dava. If the dava would exist in the loy dava, you can't call it loy dava. You can't call the source loy dava non-existent if the dava was contained there. So that itself is proof that the loy dava does contain the dava. The same thing.
Sorry, whose expression is dava miloi dava?
Okay,
the
so
philosophers.
So you have a in the bottom. They give you a source. These two doesn't apply to Ramban, but the Amunis V'Deis it does apply. Rasag is considered one of the chaykim, one of the
Jewish philosophers.
What?
Right.
One of the
Jewish philosophers.
Jewish philosophers, not Jewish, within Judaism.
Right.
Okay, so that's the expression of Dova L'Dova. What about Yesh Ma'ayin? Yesh Ma'ayin. So remember, we had a question. What was the Lashon Yesh Ma'ayin? But we found, I thought we learned it earlier, that the Sefer Yitzhak says, "Osa mi'eina yeshnei." That's mi'eina yeshnei. It's like Yesh Ma'ayin. He said, "Del Lashon also pirush ein she'eina musig." Okay, so now it says another pshat. Chen mon malashon Yesh Ma'ayin. The pirush ein she'eina musig. The kacho ein shel Yesh Aniva. Now he jumps into another. He jumps into another topic now. But okay, in the meantime, so we realize that the main difference between Yesh Ma'ayin and Ilav Ol is that Yesh Ma'ayin means that the Yesh was not contained in the Ayin. So don't forget, it's all part of the discussion. It's a discussion within a discussion. There's Das El and Das Tachten. Das El is that Lamaylo Yesh Lamata Ayin. Das Tachten is that Lamata Yesh Lamaylo Ayin. So that's when in the middle of the discussion of Das Tachten, it got in the name of Yesh Ma'ayin. We are the Yesh. The Nivoim are the Yesh, and Ayin is the what gives us power to exist. So B'meila, so that's the Ayin. So he says the Chein moving Malosh Mesh Ma'ayin the bin Ayin she'ein musig the Chein in Ayin shal Yesh Anivu. So this Ayin that we're talking about here, when they say we are created Yesh Ma'ayin, it means That's Eidei Musag. Why we say Yesh Me'ayin, means we are created from something we can't comprehend. So Ayin means Eidei Musag. The inner Ayin Sheyesh Amiti. There's another way of saying Ayin. The Yesh Amiti. Basically, he's going to introduce the point that the word Ayin itself has two meanings, and in another place, Chassidus deal talks about that's really two madrigas in Ayin. But I don't think he's got that. That's the idea here. The meaning of the word Ayin changes. When you say Lamata, we said earlier that that's the Lamayla Yesh Lamata Ayin. What does it mean Lamata Ayin? It means pure Ayin Sheyesh Amiti, from the ears of perspective. Shalagaba Yesh Amiti. From this Ayin we have a Mamish Koloch Shef Kanal. Or is a kilo Einet. It means it doesn't exist. It lacks, as if it doesn't exist. It's insignificant. So from the perspective of the Yesh Amiti, the Das Elyon, that Lamayla Yesh Lamata Ayin, the meaning of the word Ayin is Kilo Einer, that it doesn't exist, non-existent, insignificant. You cannot say that we are created from nothing, that nothing doesn't exist. You can't say that. We were created from him. So how can we say he's nothing? He is our source. No was. We call him Ayin because he's not comprehensible, not because he doesn't. Forget. What do you mean he doesn't exist? He's the one who created us. How can we call him non-existent? No, why is he called Ayin? Because he's not comprehensible. What's the mosh? The dogma kamoy. Just like the man was called man. Man means maze. Lo yodomahu. So the same thing we call. It's not. So the same thing we call the Ayin, which is Mahaved the Yesh. The name Ayin because it's not comprehensible. We can only call the name being only that madrega which we can grasp, something that's graspable. We say that exists, something which we cannot grasp. We call it Ayin, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just mean any musa. Components. All this is still in the middle of stressing a yesh ma'ayin shaloi be'er. What arei be'echer the yesh hamusik ain't a nimtza v'adayin. We can eich nika ayin. V'lomen ain't a musik klal. At sheyesh lechanes arek b'shem ayin. She said we cannot say. It's all part of the explaining the point that the yesh is not called in the ayin. Because why is it called ayin? Because the ain't a musik. And if the yesh would have been called in the ayin, cannot get a musik. That's what he's saying here. You cannot say that the yesh, that yesh which we just described, what does yesh mean to us? Something we can comprehend, musag. Cannot say that it exists just like we said by Ilov Ol, the meter that exists within the seichel. Cannot say the same thing about the ayin within the yesh within the ayin. Why? If he exists, if the yesh exists within the ayin, lama nika ayin. Why can't we call him Hayin? Interesting expression. Since something. Maybe we should say Shayesh. Since the yesh is calling him, so I'm not sure. I have to look it up, but what Shasoga doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it could be Derech say Shasoga means something that's comprehensible. Koponim, so we can't call it Ayin. Elo, so that's another proof. That the Yesh Aniva did not exist even in a potential form within the Ayin that's creating him. And only with the power of the Eibishter's infinite power was it able to be created out of nothing. The Shem Bria brings in another point that Shem Bria, the term Bria, Moira Lisavas Chadosh. We said before, that's the Ramban. That's a famous Ramban in the beginning of Bereshit is Bo. That Bria means Isavas Chadosh, something new. Kamoi im Bria Ivra Avaya. It says in Pasuk Benegeya, in Korach, that the Eibishter said, that Moshe Rabbeinu said, V'im Bria Ivra Avaya Potza Adoma Espia. So it means something new that didn't exist before. All of a sudden, the earth opens its mouth. In your cholim lav ivra ata. So he brings the Chazal. Maybe Rashi says it also. I don't remember. Does Rashi say it? What is the word im bria ivra? Im nivra, because if it was because it says in Pirkei it's one nivra ben pure. So I don't know how it fits exactly, but here it says im bria im nivra. If it's created, it's good. Im lav ivra ata. That's what I think. That's what Rashi said. Pshat in Bria Ivra. So he just brings this line as to prove the point that that the word Bria means something new, creation out of something totally new that doesn't exist in any abstract form before. Means that through the only to the Eibishter's interest and desire was something was created out of nothing. Okay, to summarize, interesting. See, we started discussion that with the base. Before they said das alien, and das alien he just spent one line. Das alien is the colony of Einwefes. And das Tachten he spoke about for more than a page. The guy, what is das Tachten yesh me'ayin? The lamata yesh l'mayla ayin. So we went into a very long, elaborate discussion. What is the difference yesh me'ayin and il v'ol? And the bottom line that we derive from all this that the view from our view from below is yesh me'ayin. That we are the yesh and whatever is above us is the ayin. That is the main what we're taking from this whole discussion. So that is the meaning of das Tachten, that we is yesh me'ayin, that we are the yesh and everything above us is ayin. Now he takes us to another place. The truth is, he says both of these views of reality are both true. The das Tachten mishem elikim, the view from below, it also comes from the Eibishter. It's not true. That's the view. That's what the Eibishter set up, and that comes from that attribute of the Eibishter, which is expressed in Shem Elikim. The Elikim b'gematria teva. That's one of the famous expressions. Elikim is a gematria teva. Shubu yesh mayim. So Shem Elikim, which is also the Eibishter's name. What is a name? Name means the Eibishter's expression. Eibishter expresses itself in such a way. There should be a view from below. That should be the das Tachten from below the lamata yesh. That's why Elikim created nature. Laws of nature give us the feeling that we are, and we are comfortable in our own existence. We are the real yesh. We are the yesh. That's the laws of nature. That comes from Elikim. Das alien mishem avai. The view from das alien that comes from different name kaviyachol of the Eibishter. The name meaning different expression of the Eibishter's power, which is Shem Havaya. Liye is the Shem Havaya or Shem Etzem, because the Shem Havaya we know in Halacha also the Shem Etzem. That's the name that relates to the Eibishter's Etzem. B'meile Gilei Atzmius, which is the expression of the Eibishter's essence. Gabe Atzmius, Hakol b'chinas ayin the kol kamek lochshu. The gila of the Atzmius is Megala, that aspect of Likud, that he's everything. There's not everything else is insignificant. The lacks of significance. Shem Elikim, Shemayim Master Elatz. Mashengen the Shem Elikim, which is also the Eibishter's name, which is also the name of the Eibishter. The made it's also emes. But what does that express? It expresses the Eibishter's power. Shemayim u'mastir l'aratzmi. He conceals and hides this aratzmi. Li'esnim shaprinas oil prinas mino gvul. That the oil should be drawn, should be pulled down only in a limited and measured way. This is slapshus and should be actually until it can be a creation of a separate being of yesh. Okay, so we finished a short description, but he's not satisfied with that. Takes us a step higher. Beis Madrigas, these two names, these two Madrigas, they themselves really express two aspects of the Eibishter's infinite essence. We just learned about it a little in the Maimah Basilagani of this year. What does it say? There in Sof L'Maila Den Kate L'Mata Den Tachlis. It says in Zoya, in Tikkun Zoya, and Sof L'Maila Den Kate is high with that Kate, that an end, and the L'Mata Mata, and he also reaches all the way below, all the way above, all the way below. What's meant? So these two expressions, below and above and below, also relate to similar concepts. The concept of Ma'ila means Lahailim La'aster Hatzmus. Means the Eibishter has the power to contain himself, to block, to hide himself. So these two madrigas, Ma'ila and Ket, Ma'ila and Tach, is Helem v'Gilut. V'hu, another way of describing it is Koyach HaGvul, Koyach HaBligvul. The power to limit himself and the power to be infinite, to be unlimited. In other words, it's interesting, going back and forth. So that's it expresses who he is.
So it turns out that the gvul is even higher.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah. So that's Chassidus talks a lot about it. The symptoms of the the koyach hagvul is higher because we learned a lot of places. The choshech is, remember the Maimah before we learned which Maimah was it. Choshech is above oil. Remember Yitzchak is above Avram. This koyach hagvul is higher. The fact that he can contain himself, that's his essence, the way he is within himself. Gili means, the concept of Gili means I express myself outside of myself, that I care what's happening outside. That's a very magushim, the commercial. But the concept is that Gvur is higher than Chesed. Seems the Helem is higher than Gil. Helem means I am who I am within myself. I don't care what's happening outside me, right? So that expresses a higher level.
Okay, thank you.
But in reality, the way it expresses itself in our own existence, it's the other way. That because the Eibishter contains himself and is mildly, so we don't see him. So to us, it's lower, right? So from our perspective, there's gvur, there's judgment, there is hell and vehester. But it's the same concept that says chasad. There's also similar chasadim ugulim. What does it say in the Maimah? The hidden good is higher than the revealed good. It's similar. I think it's a similar concept. Koponim, so he says, so what is it? Why is it bringing up this entire thing? Is just to say, Gama Anoga the Shem Elikim emes. The Anoga of Shem Elikim is also emes. It's not the pshat. Since from the Eibishter's perspective, that's Elin. Lamata yesh l'mayla yesh lamata ayin. So we'll say this is the truth, and what our view is wrong. It's not true. Our views, Kale Day Savai, both views are emes. Depends. Each one expresses a different aspect of the Eibishter's power. One expresses the Eibishter's power to reveal himself. One expresses the Eibishter's power to conceal himself. So both is emes. Val kein shnei mebchinas yichudim. Two yichudim in Avodas Hashem. We have yichud Eloi and yichud Torah. It's not we only need yichud Eloi. We need both. Yichud Eloi and yichud Bitul. So that's very cryptic. Sometimes the yichud and Bitul, which is, I'm not sure which is yichud, which is Bitul, but the two ways of being bottled. One is being bottled that you dissolve, and one is being bottled, you united. One,
It seems like the first one is Yichud Tata. The Yichud is Yichud Tata, and the Bittul is like his
maybe it's possible. It's possible. I'm not. It's very. I'm not sure, to be honest. Okay, you know what you're saying makes sense because the first got to the second, but earlier it was the opposite. It said koich hagvul koich habli gvul. She's like Gila ve'ester. Gila is really bli gvul, so it doesn't always fit. I'm not sure. Okay. So he brings what? Sorry.
Is that in that tachton, no?
Sure, of course. So, but he's trying to say we need both. Yeah, of course it doesn't understand. The question is now, we just read the word, eine von ist Ichod und Bittul. These two madrigas of Ichod and Bittul are also, I'm not sure, I don't remember now which one is which.
But logically, Ichud is not Bittul. No, Ichud is united. You're like equal. You're almost, you can see.
Two levels in the Ichud. There's the level that you united, that you become one with the one you united with, and Bittul means you dissolve. So it's just two ways of dissolving. So I'm not. Both of them express a certain level of Ichud means the unity means the Eibishter is the only one. There's nothing besides them. In that goof are the two ways of doing it. If I remember correctly, Yichud and Bittul, we learned it in other places. It was within Yichud Tator. Within Yichud Elah Goof, the two madrigas. That I think was called Yichud and Bittul. But here he talks about Yichud Tator. Okay, that it needs a little more investigation. Maybe I'll look into it more. Okay. But going back to the point he made before that Hashem Elikim is also emes, that stuff is also emes. He brings another remes. Zeh b'seif Ma'aseh Bereshis. The end of the story of Ma'aseh Bereshis, which starts with Bereshis Bara Elikim, it finishes. What does it say in the end? We all know that in Ma'aseh Bereshis only Hashem Elikim is mentioned. The first time it says Shem Havai is in the second parak of Bereshis. But until then, it said Bereshis Bara Elikim, Bara Elikim. There was no Havai. So Ma'aseh Bereshis is connected to Shem Elikim. What are the three last words of Ma'aseh Bereshis? Asher bara Elikim lasis. So the word Asher bara Elikim lasis, Seifei Teves Emes. The last three letters of each word combined is the word emes. L'rames, that teaches us, it's an allusion to the fact שגם מה שנראה בשם אלוקים מבחינת דת תחתון הרי זה emes. Even that, all this is a emes, that das tachton, Shem Elikim is also emes. This is what this marum is in the fact that the last three words of Ma'aseh Bereshis is Seifei Teves emes. Right? But then he goes into, we just said it's all emes, but then he says really emes itself is madrigas. Emes yesh kama madrigas. Komois fas emes ve'emes lamite. Actually, in Tanya, he talks about it also. Emes itself has a few levels. There's something called sfas emes, the language of truth. There's emes, truth, and there's something called emes la'amite, the real truth, which we find the expression in Gemara, don't din emes la'amite, which is it's a deeper level in truth. When he talks about that, he goes into a little side discussion.
Sorry, Svas is the language. I thought it's like the edge, like a Svas or Beged.
I think it's the maybe you're right. Really, you're right.
I don't know. That's always what I thought.
I think in the pasuk for sure it means the language, because what the lashon is fast emes tikkun la'ad when you tell the truth. I think fast in the pasuk for sure means language. Okay. What you're saying is also maybe you may be right. Maybe fast emes means also the edge. Okay, I didn't think of that. Okay, it's a good chap. Maybe it says already somewhere. Okay, but it's the same concept. It's fast emes is not emes itself. It's only either call it like you say the edge or the language. It's not emes itself. All right, now it starts another discussion, but it will continue. I don't think Purim we're gonna learn. So the day after Purim, continue Monday. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good Shabbos. Welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you. All right.
R'Dovid, this is the first time we are learning it, no?
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
This time was
the first time.
No, because you said that in the discussion you said, oh, the first time that we looked up the Pardes. So I was wondering.
No,
Different time, different mimer.
We learned the Pardes in different time. I don't remember in Ein Aleph or Ein Ches. He bought a much bigger piece of the Pardes. I have to find it. Maybe I'll look into it. I'll find it. So there he bought the Pardes. We looked it up. I copied it. It was hard to read. It was a very complicated piece of Kabbalah. But I'll have to find it. I'll look it up. I'll find it. It's a different mimer we learned, not this. All right. Okay, good Shabbos, happy Purim, everybody.
Good Shabbos, happy Purim.